You're listening to Biz-Souls, the business podcast with an edge, hosted by me, Rona Lewis, and Jeffrey Hansler. Tune in for perspectives and discoveries about the changing world of business. It's time to connect to the heart, soul, and humor of how business gets done. Hello all, welcome to Biz-Souls. I'm Rona Lewis.
I'm Jeffrey Hansler, and we get to the heart and soul of business and the people that make it happen.
And today we're talking about a bunch of stuff that Jeffrey came up with, and I'm just going along with it.
Wow,
she's
so committed. She's so committed to this. It's like this.
It's just so much easier.
I must say, though, that Rona just did an quick interview of somebody that wants to be on the show, so that's great. And
my dog is here. Hi, Roscoe.
So I want to talk about this book and just one section of the book. It's called Superforecasting. It's by Philip Tetlock and Gardner. And the reason I am reading this book now, it was written, I think, 2016, is because I was doing a class, and one of the people in the class, the participants in the class, said, we were talking about different things, and all of a sudden they said, oh, you got to read this book. You're going to really enjoy it.
Which class were you teaching?
5-day MBA.
Okay. So if you want, you can get your MBA in 5 days with Jeffrey. It's amazing. I actually took the class and forgot everything like 3 days later. So.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyway.
So what was I going to say? Anyway, so
I don't know.
We're going to talk about Philip, except we were talking about, somebody mentioned the class. They also mentioned that they'd seen the podcast and they go, I watched the last one. Are you and Rona having issues together?
This is somebody who took a class that I ran and then took. She took it with me.
Yeah, she took a different class with you, and then she came and she took the class, and then she goes, "Oh, you're the other part of that." And
you're that Jeffrey.
Yeah. And so I asked Rona. I said, "Has anybody ever mentioned us about the podcast in your class?" And she goes,
they have.
What did they say? That
Jeffrey's mean to you a lot. Yes, I know. And it's his way of trying to be funny, and it usually falls flat, so I just ignore it.
Well, that's the thing. And part of this book.
The thing is, he's got no sense of humor. So there.
Well, right now I don't. I can't think of anything.
But he has no comeback.
I'm just trying to keep the threads going on this since I'm going solo on this.
Yeah.
But the thing is the thing about super forecasting, they're talking about people that can predict the future accurately and all the different ways of doing it.
Personally, I use tarot cards, but go ahead.
And the section we're going to focus on, we're not talking about the whole book. We're just going to talk about a portion of it. The section we're talking about talks about what's people that are successful doing versus people that are not successful and getting better at things. And so one of the things that we do is
failure?
Yeah, they're talking about failure.
Okay.
Is that a simpler way of saying it?
That's a much simpler way. And I mean, I talk about failure in play all the time.
Right. And we have done a lot of things on the podcast that work and don't work, and we try and they don't work, and then we come back at them again. So we did long podcasts. Neither of us liked that, and the editing was killed me. So we killed that longer podcast.
No, we just didn't like the guests who came in and continued talking for 45 minutes, and we couldn't get a question in.
For me, it was the editing primarily. It was
I don't care about that because I don't do it. So
I'm still not the professional editor.
But you're better, and you wanted to do it. So.
Yeah, no, and I'm getting better at it, which is good. And that's one of the things they talk about is practicing on things. So we are practicing on being
less mean to each other.
No,
we're not doing that.
Funny mean. The symbol I have in mind is Dan Aykroyd and
Jane, you ignorant slut.
Yeah. It's where
if you're too young to remember Saturday Night Live, I think it was in the 70s,
right?
Mid to late 70s that it was a famous scene. So look up Jane, you ignorant slut, and then you'll find it.
Right, exactly. And we're trying to get something similar like that. And then who are the two guys that now do it and they write jokes for each other?
Oh, Colin Jost and I lost the other guy's name. The black guy whose name
okay, got it.
Anyway, so good.
All right. So anyway, that was I think that was basically what we talk about.
Okay.
Is this in general? And one of the things that I've always talked about is
I have to look it up now. But go ahead.
Look it up. You look it up while I talk.
Yeah, good.
So first of all, Philip Tetlock, he's the main author on this. Dan Gardner is the follow-up author.
Michael Che.
Michael Che, that's right.
Thank you. Sorry, Michael. Yeah.
And, I couldn't find much on Dan Gardner. I couldn't even find him on LinkedIn, I don't think. So I'm just going to give you, Phillips, a little background on him. So he's a renowned psychologist, political scientist, professor at the University of Pennsylvania.
Slow down so people understand you.
I was speaking Californian just to
Dude.
slur my words together, dude. He's a leading expert on judgment and decision-making, particularly in the realm of forecasting and expert opinion. He's also the co-founder of Good Judgment, Inc. Now, I haven't gone to Good Judgment, Inc. It's where you can sign up and become one of the forecasters and get involved in his ongoing study. His first study.
So you would be the what not to do.
Well, initially, but and
he would be, because Jeffrey is a bit of a contrarian, so it would be a more objective way because you get it from all sides.
Right. And I'm trying to.
Not necessarily a bad thing.
One of the things I've struggled with probability, and I've struggled with calculus. He tells you don't use calculus. You may know about calculus. You have a good affinity for numbers.
Not me.
Which I don't know. I'm somewhere. It's weird, kind of.
Well, you teach the 5-day MBA, and there's stuff in
So anyway, one of the things he talks about. Look, not all practice. I'm going to read this. This is on page 180 in his book. In
case you want to follow along with your copy.
Right. Not all practice improves skills. It needs to be informed practice. And we talk about this all the time. You talk about attuned play, and this is about informed practice. So you need to know which mistakes to look for and which best practices really are the best. And he said you must have two things, and this is what I'm always talking about. He said with forecasters, a lot of the forecasters use ambiguous language. And I'm not going to go to all the things he talks about forecasters. And if you use a big ambiguous language, you can then talk yourself through a hindsight bias. Oh, that's what I really meant. And that's how it fits. And he said, you're not going to improve your forecasting if you don't have...
It's like making excuses for yourself.
Right. And so they talk about specific language, and they also apply numbers to that language. So they're applying a percentage to it because the numbers don't lie. You're either on the number or you're not. Now, the second thing...
So ish doesn't count. 5-ish.
5-ish doesn't work, no. The second thing is he talks about a lag in feedback time. He says it's really important to understand, to get feedback on what works and doesn't work. And
well, that makes sense because you don't know right away all the time, depending on your circumstance.
Right. And he uses, talks about...
That was really loud.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Right?
Oh,
he gets a little...
We really peaked.
Yeah.
So he talks about Baruch Fischoff. Fischoff.
He's one of mine.
Who did a study of police officers. I think that was a study. So I've only been through this book quickly once, and so I'm mixing stuff up. Anyway, maybe he didn't talk about
which is helpful for our listening to get things straight. Well done, huh?
I get excited in general concepts. Anyway, he talked about police officers, and police officers, because they're listening to people all lie to them and stuff. Because they have so much exposure to it, their assumption is that they get better at being able to tell who's lying and what's not. And that's a fallacy because they've done tests to it. And the reason it's a fallacy is not because they don't have a lot of experience in it, is that feedback loop. They don't find out if somebody's lying or not lying till way down the road when a trial happens or somebody confesses honestly on stuff. And so they have a bad feedback loop. So
and nothing is happening to make them change their viewpoint. So they're just going to do the same thing over and over again.
Right.
Okay. That makes sense.
One of the things and then let's jump back. So the two things are you've got to have specific measurable targets, and then you have to have feedback as soon as possible on whether you're doing the right thing or not. So then we're going to bring this back to the podcast here. We just got an announcement. Some company they wanted us to spend money with them, which is not a bad idea. And they
not
said,
for us to spend money, just to give us some information.
No, they want to spend money. These are the reports. We would have to hire them, and then they would analyze that. So they did a quick analysis, and they just gave us a couple of tasty tidbits. So on Spotify and Apple, our podcast comes up in number 11 out of all podcasts for consulting methods.
Which we talk about some, but not all.
Well, we bring it up a lot, and it comes up in a lot of conversations, and I think the AI things are doing it.
Yeah. That could
and
be.
number 21 is mind manipulation. We're always talking about how bias and stuff and things like that. And then number 58 is research endeavors. So that must be from Michael Woodenberg.
Yeah.
And the research effects.
Yeah. They must have just done it, and that was the last one.
Well,
anyway.
we made a decision. Rona's not completely happy with the decision. We made the decision that we weren't going to really market this heavy.
Yeah, he made the decision.
And what's happened is now we've got 170 episodes. Are loaded up. I think we have two more to load, and then it'll be 170 out of there ish. And so we're starting to get calls from people to be on the podcast,
right.
And it has to do with the podcast has been fairly consistent, and the audience is growing by leaps and bounds.
2 or 3 people every year. It's amazing.
And I've got friends that going, and why are you doing this?
That's right.
He's
got a podcast partner going, why are we doing this?
Yeah, exactly. So here's the thing, though. We're practicing, and we're hearing from the few people that are tied up what they like and what they don't like. So we're getting feedback on that.
Yeah.
So eventually we're going to get there. And, we've got other things going on, too. And we're doing our speaking. We're doing our consulting. So,
we're doing our coaching.
This is just more like a study. It's like a PhD in podcasting.
Well, and, the other good thing about it is when people want to see our personality to hire us for consulting, for giving a program, they can come on and see that I am really the star of the show. And he, again, is just working the tech and editing.
Well, yeah, exactly. And so I do want to make a forecast on this. This will be my first forecast.
Go ahead.
Because people are now
guys are witnesses. Yeah.
Because people are now calling to get on the show, we're going to have more guests. Now, the next 3 are just us talking about various books, one of which is going to be your book.
One is mine, so stay tuned. Yay.
And I have a feeling because one of the guys has got like 10,000 followers.
Yes.
On LinkedIn or something?
Maybe. I don't. I do not. Okay. I haven't answered. Not.
So I think that what's going to happen is I think we're going to start getting that exponential curve, hopefully, or at least a upward trend.
Like learning to snowboard.
Yeah.
It goes like this, and then it goes like this. Okay.
So the first thing is I've thoroughly enjoyed the book.
We already hit the first thing and the second.
No,
thing.
I know.
So it's
I know.
The third thing.
No. That was it.
Numbers are important. You just said that, and now you know.
the most important thing. The first thing I wanted to say about the book.
I just totally took him off his game. Go ahead. Come on. You can get back. You can do it. Come on.
The first thing I want to say about the book in general is I completely enjoy the book. The writing is really well done, and it makes sense. And he's talking about it, and he's also giving stories about how these guys or these people that are very good at forecasting can miss it. And the ones that do the best are the ones that are able to own up and say, yep, blew that one, made a mistake on that one. And
celebrating failure. Yay.
Exactly. And so all of this is, see, Rona thinks I just, spitwad this stuff.
No, I think you know it. And what Jeffrey tends to do, and it actually helps, is he dives deep into every book he reads, and he talks about it constantly from the first page till he's done 2 or 3 months later, and drives me crazy on it. And kind of sometimes mansplains, and a lot of it I don't understand because we don't read the same type of business books. So this is the way he learns. And I in all fairness, I talk about mine too.
Right.
With that. So go ahead.
Well, and then I let the OCD kick in. I go through the books 4 or 5 times.
Then I leave the country.
Yes, exactly. And the point I was going to actually make, Rona, is that...
Was there one?
Yeah, the point about, celebrating failure.
Yeah.
That leads right into your book. So there is thought.
So stay tuned. Okay.
There is thought about this book and then the next book. They're all linked together, which is why somebody who's really smart picked him. He may have no sense of humor. He's just really bright at some level. We're not sure what
yet. He has his
yet.
wheelhouse.
We're not sure what yet,
He makes a mean Kung Pao chicken. So, yeah.
Look, it's my belief that aliens came down, abducted me, and then threw me back. Hey, this guy's throwing our numbers off. It doesn't work. Nope, doesn't qualify. So anyway, Philip Tetlock, great. Love the book. And I'm going to see about
You want to show the cover?
Oh, yeah, we'll show the cover. Here's the cover. I've got a few tabs in there. There you go. so you can see it.
Yeah. Very good. Yeah. Okay.
All right.
Are you dizzy?
That's it for now. Look, subscribe, follow, give us feedback. Give us immediate feedback so we know what you like and what you don't.
If you've heard a couple of our podcasts, if you have a preference of one or the other, or if you just want to see one of us on going, I'm kidding.
Right.
Let us know what you think of this. If you enjoy what we do, please like, subscribe. It actually really helps our numbers. Share with all your friends, et cetera, et cetera. All right.
Absolutely. And I was going to say a point, and I completely forgot what the point was.
Must have been very important.
It was very important.
Oh, if you have any business books that you feel are incredibly helpful for the world that we live in now, as fast as it's changing, please do share, because we are both voracious readers, and maybe we'll talk about it.
Yeah, their website is goodjudgment.org. That's
goodjudgment.org. And if you join, you have a chance to be one of the.
Yeah, you can sign up for it. I don't know what the commitment is. I don't know what I don't know if you.
Do you want to be a forecaster?
Yeah, it's a way to improve your, just going through the motions of doing it. I think would help a lot of people, especially leadership, realize what's going on. And a lot of times, the other point in this, we can't even get into it now, is they talk about the ability to ask really good questions. So he had me at that one right in the beginning of the book.
Yeah.
So anyway,
he's Mr. Question.
All right.
That is it for us. I'm Rona Lewis.
I'm Jeffrey Hansler.
And this has been Biz-Souls. We'll see you later.
Thank you.
You've been listening to the Biz-Souls podcast with your hosts, Rona Lewis and Jeffrey Hansler. Did you have fun? Subscribe, rate, and leave a review. It's very much appreciated. Talk to you next week.